With you, all your experience in the military and your knowledge of what the real world in these combat environments is like, how do you feel when you hear people talk about defunding the military or decreasing the military, or that we don't need it, or that we shouldn't have the kind of budget that we have right now? The people that don't understand the real threats that are out there, and that if you do not have a well-trained, well-funded, experienced military that really understands these things, you've got real danger at your door.
Yep. I'm glad that they live in a place where they have enough space to develop those thoughts, because they're not under pressure, because the military is doing the job that they should be doing. There are, like I said, so many misconceptions about what the military does, what we do overseas, how many countries we are in overseas, how deep we are into some of these countries, how forecasted and how forward-looking the military is, looking for emerging threats as opposed to just responding. And all of that creates space so people can exercise their right to voice their First Amendment, right of saying those things.
Does it frustrate you, though, that they don't have a real understanding?
I'm grateful that they live in a place where they don't have that great understanding, because like I said, they have the space to be confused. They're not pushed under a thumb. They're not being told, you have to say this or it's going to be your fucking head in the square.
Right.
It is frustrating for me at times, but I balance that with that's what this country is supposed to be about. You're supposed to be able to voice your dissent. Right, and I believe that the system will correct, and it does correct for itself. There are people that believe that, but I think the majority of people, again, silent majority versus extreme minority. I think those people are in the extreme minority, but they're very vocal. I think most people are incredibly appreciative of what the military does. But having said that, if you've never served in the military and you've never been in a combat occupation, and then you've never applied that occupation for real, there's going to be a gap, and there's going to be a gap in understanding, and that's okay. So it's frustrating, yes, but I'm glad that it exists, and I'm glad that they are not, and this country is not in a position where they are getting drafted and forced into that position. I'm glad that it was me that did that and had to bear any weight or burden that came with that to allow them to have whatever opinion they want.
That's a great perspective. That's a very healthy way of looking at it. And I probably think it's probably the only manageable way of looking at it.
I think you would go crazy otherwise, because otherwise, and then what are you going to do? Go to a rally and hold up another? It's like, what's? Right. Because initially I have to fight back the initial anger, but eventually give me a little bit of time, and the hopefully relatively sane head is going to prevail. And I had again that night I got hurt. It changed the way that I thought about things. If I had never gotten hurt and I had never thought about my own mortality, and I had never thought about, I spent a lot of time thinking about whether or not what I did in the military has had any impact, 0.0001. I don't know if I would have thought about that if all I had ever done was just doing the occupation that I did. I needed that lifting of my head to have that perspective. I did. I don't think all people do, but I needed that.
How long did sorry, keep going.
I was going to say, I think that night in some ways helps me have the perspective I have now with those people.
How long is the average career of someone who's a SEAL?
Well, if you want to retire, you got to do 20 years in a wake up. And they should change
What's a wake up?
Wake up the next day. You got to do 20 years.
Oh.
You have to do 20 years to the day. So wake up the day after your 20th. But they need to change the term also. Retirement pay in the military should be, in my opinion at least, replaced with money that